Greater Good Radio. Connect, learn, heal, and grow. So if you could only take one lesson, what would it be? Like, how did it come about and how to use it?
I might have to give 1.5 or 2.
Okay. I mean, if you want to go 3, I was trying to narrow it down. But if you got to go 3 or 4, whatever, yeah.
The first and most important one is how critical community is. And we were just talking about this, right? The connection and depending on each other, not being entirely dependent on an individualistic or individualized way of trying to survive and thrive or heal. I'll just give you some examples because I'm not sure I can describe it in total. But the main model for this that I came into contact with is Puʻuhonua O Waiʻanae.
Oh.
And, the village of 250 people who live houseless at the Waiʻanae Boat Harbor, led by Twinkle Borge. I met her in 2015 and started spending time out at the boat harbor and just helping out wherever I could. What really cemented my relationship with Twinkle and the village was in 2018, the state was going to evict them. And at that point, myself and other kind of housed allies, along with leaders of the village, kind of banded together to try to prevent the eviction from happening. And that brought us really, really close. But the reason why I felt it was so important to defend the village and to prevent the eviction was I had seen really incredible examples of community caring for each other. So I'll give you a couple. One is I've been going out there for a year or 2 by this time. And so I was very familiar with the village and I was walking around the footpaths with Twinkle, and the village is divided into sections of about 25 residents each. And each section has a bulletin board and a little gathering space. And I was walking past the bulletin boards in the sections and I noticed that there were these posters up with American Sign Language alphabet. Yeah. And so I asked Twinkle, I said, didn't notice these before. How come you guys put these up? And she said, a family moved in and they have a deaf son. And so we all got to know at least basic, signing, because we got to be able to communicate with him and tell him, like, if he's lost or he's wandering out to the parking lot, going the wrong direction, we got to be able to tell him. And I thought, what other neighborhood would that happen in, where a family moves in with a deaf child and the neighborhood takes it upon themselves to try to learn some sign language, But that's one example. And the other is Twinkle's mantra of Kuleana wakes up mana. Responsibility wakes up the spirit. And I saw that happen too. During that eviction, when that eviction was imminent, one of the things the village decided to do was to have an open house. Because there was all kind of negative media coverage of the village, and it was entirely misleading or outright false. Okay, so Twinkle was like, we'd have people come and see what we're about, see how we live. And she was organizing, they were going to have this open house, and we weren't sure how many people were going to show up, but she said we need tour guides to take groups of like 10 people through the village, because the village covers a pretty big area. And she had assigned this guy, Lenny, to be a tour guide. And I had never seen Lenny come out of his tent even up to that point. And I understood that, maybe he had some mental health issues he was struggling with. And I was like, you sure or what, And Twinkle was like, nah, he can, And he led tours of the village that day. And 800 people showed up. So, the whole day, he and others were walking people through the village, kind of pointing out, how the village operated. And after that day, every time I went back to the village, he was outside his tent. He was the village handyman. He was the village gardener. He was talking story with folks. But again, like one example of dozens that I could share of, as Twinkle says, you give them a role in your community, something that they know is meaningful to the community, and the mana will wake up, and I've seen that be part of people's healing and growth. And it's something that our systems are not good at doing, especially our systems of helping, right? Those two things, actually, building community, having people depend on each other and support each other, and creating roles that are really meaningful, for people to put their gifts to use for the benefit of a community and people they care about. our systems are not good at doing that. Even the systems we have for helping people out of homelessness are not good at doing that, right? And so those are powerful lessons that I tried to take into my own neighborhood, but it really opened my eyes how it was a different way of surviving and thriving.
If you resonate with Greater Good Radio, please join our community at www.greatergoodradio.com, where you can get access to exclusive content and offerings. Hope to see you soon.